It's all about the null.
About the null.
Yeah.
No research. What other innovative things do you do in your stat class?
Oh, there are many, my friends.
Yeah? Can you give us one or two?
So when I'm talking about the shape of a distribution, in particular when I'm talking about kurtosis, and I talk about, mesokurtic, leptokurtic, platykurtic,
yep.
I actually have moves that I do. So if I'm standing straight with my hands down to my side, I'm a mesokurtic curve.
You just heard Loretta McGregor from Arkansas State University in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I interviewed Loretta for episode 222 of Psych Sessions, Conversations About Teaching and Stuff.
Hey folks, if you are a graduate level school psych instructor, or if you know one, you're going to want to listen up or pass this along, because there is a major problem, and that is that school psych students need hands-on experience with professional assessments. But if you've worked in this world, you know that access to those real-world tools is limited and costly. And that's where Psych Sessions partner MHS comes in. Through their education and training partnership program, they give your students access to gold standard, scientifically validated behavioral assessments, the ones that are trusted by professionals worldwide. So here's what you get. You get free access to MHS behavioral assessments for academic training. You get up to 12 free online forms per student, and technical manuals at no charge, and then finally a 40% discount on MHS published products that are beyond the free access. We want to say a huge thanks to MHS for supporting psychology education. Visit MHS.com to check out the Education and Training Partnership Program today. Psych Sessions is sponsored by W.W. Norton. Are you looking for more activities to promote scientific literacy? ZAPS 3.0 interactive labs from W.W. Norton are brief, hands-on activities that invite students to actively participate in the process of psychological research and discovery. Utilizing a consistent 5-part framework and incorporating transparent design principles, students experience classic psychological studies like the Stroop effect, false memory, the serial position effect, signal detection, and more. Once they've completed the experiment, students can compare their data with national data and their own classmates, offering the opportunity for rich in-class or online discussions. Bring the science of psychology to life for your students with ZAPS. For Psych Sessions listeners new to ZAPS, you can try it for free the next time you teach. Just go to siegel.wwnorton.com/Psych Sessions, and the folks at W.W. Norton will even integrate it into your LMS for you. That is Siegel, like the bird, SEAGULL.wwnorton.com/Psych Sessions.
Hi, my name is Brooke Wisenhunt, and I'm from Missouri State University. And one of the things that excites me about STP is that I feel like that is where I found my professional home. After spending a lot of years going to other professional academic conferences, I landed at a conference full of people from STP and really felt like this was the place that were my people. And I think that that's something that you can miss out on if you don't join this organization. So go to teachpsych.org and please join and become one of these people that is a member of our community.
Welcome to another episode of Psych Sessions. I feel like I say this every time I introduce myself with a guest, but I really mean it this time, if that makes any sense. First off, thank you to Nightop here in Clearwater, Florida in January 2025 for providing the space to Psych Sessions. We appreciate that. And this is not a lie at all. I am here with one of my dearest friends, Loretta McGregor. Hi, Loretta.
Hi, Eric, and who told you we were friends?
Okay, that's my perception from my point of view, and I realize that my worldviews are wrong sometimes, but I like to think that we're friends or friendly.
We are friends. I mean, I would only say that to a friend. And first, I would like to apologize to the audience because I do have some laryngitis going on. They can't see the huge mug of tea that I have, but...
That's adorable that you're calling that tea. So first off, well done, Loretta. Well done. Well played.
Herbal tea at that.
Oh, yeah, herbal tea. You know that herbal tea stuff is legal in Florida. I saw the shops on my taxi ride from the airport the other day.
Well, I didn't stop. I brought this with me, so I guess it's legal in Arkansas, too.
Did you drive or did you fly?
I flew.
You're not supposed to fly with that stuff.
Herbal tea?
Yeah, when I say that, and I'm doing the air quotes for the listeners, herbal tea. Sure, herbal tea. We're going to stick with that story?
Yes, we're going to stick with that story.
All right. Well, it's great to see you. I was trying to think back. I know the location. The last time we had you on the podcast was at the Southwest Convention, Southwest Psychological, SWPA.
Yes.
I'll spit it out there.
Yes.
And that was it wasn't in Dallas. It was in San Antonio. I can't remember the city where that was.
Was that the last time, or was it...
Last time you were... Oh, you might have done a presidential...
ACT?
Yeah, you might have did
Yeah.
a presidential update type of thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll refer listeners back to the original podcast because I'm going to try not to repeat too many of the stories that I told on that one. And I'm not going to say that Loretta made me cry, but she and I talked about a topic...
How did I make you cry?
Well, we talked about a topic that was very personal to me in a spot in my academic career where you helped me greatly, even though you didn't remember that, which I wouldn't expect you to remember, a conversation we had in AP reading. That's all I'm going to say about that, or else I'll start to tear up again. No. You were a good friend then, you're a good friend now, and I appreciate you. So I have a couple of topics du jour to talk about today. Then, of course, we can talk about anything you want to.
Okay.
So you have just completed in December 31st of 2024 your year as STP president.
Yes.
There's only been, I'm not going to know the number, maybe 55 or 60 STP presidents in the history of the Division II of APA. How was that experience for you? Can you tell the listeners what it's like to be STP president?
It was exciting. Quite often, at times, it was surreal, and it was a lot of work, but it was fun because I got to be president and work with lots of people who are very good at what they do, and I appreciate each and every one of those individuals that I worked with on a daily, on a monthly, on a weekly basis. So yeah, it was awesome.
So I appreciate that, but what were some of the things that you were involved in organizing? What were some of the things, if you look back on it, and there's not a lot of rear view right now, 4 days into the new year, what would be some of your proudest moments or your biggest accomplishments in your view?
So, some of my proudest moments, biggest accomplishments. That's a really good question, Eric.
How about that? I got one.
You did. I think that one of the things I was really proud about, and I know for some of your listeners they won't necessarily think it was a proud moment, but we went over the financials of STP, and we wanted to make sure that the organization was solvent for years to come. I mean, it's in good shape now, but we wanted to make sure that it was going to be there for generations beyond myself and others. And we made the decision to increase the dues, which had not been increased in a multitude of years. I don't even know how many years. Right. And we did it in a way where we listened to our membership and we talked to each other. Those are the people who are on the executive board. And we made a decision to raise the dues so that, again, we could keep the organization solvent. But we didn't do it in a malicious way, and we didn't try to price gouge anyone. I think we went up by $10.
Right.
And, that's just enough to help make sure that the organization is going to continue to move forward. I'm glad we got that done because I was on the executive board a year prior, and we had started having conversations about it, but we didn't move forward on it because we were sort of concerned about what the membership would think. But then, I said, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. One of the things we also did is we partnered with some other organizations to actually help start a mentoring program for high school students.
Okay.
And the high school students could contact a faculty member who had agreed to be a mentor, and they could ask them anything from questions about college to, can you read this letter for me? Can you help me understand what the FAFSA is all about? Anything to help individuals, especially high school students, who are interested in going to university, and in particular, studying psychology. So that was one of the other things I was really happy about.
Yeah, going back to the price increase for membership, there's not anybody on the planet who's going to be excited about that. But yet, Loretta, when I hear you talk about that, I think about the stewardship of the organization.
Yes.
And if you don't want to go here, that's fine. Did you get any pushback or a lot of pushback or complaints about why are you increasing it from 25 to 35? Did you get anything like that at all?
We got a few complaints because when we first started talking about the increase, we were thinking going a little bit more than 35.
Okay.
But again, we listened to what membership was saying when they said, I think that's too much. And we looked at our finances and said, okay, what can we do that is going to be a reasonable increase, but is going to be beneficial to the organization? And landing on that $10 increase, we thought about it and we said, that for some of us, that's 1 or 2 cups of coffee.
Right. Or tea.
Yeah, or tea. And a $10 increase is probably reasonable. And then we made some concessions in there for individuals for whom that $10 would be a hardship. So we tried very hard to make sure that anyone who wants to be a member of the Society for the Teaching of Psychology could afford it.
And if I recall correctly, even when the dues were at $25, there were waivers for people if you showed a hardship. Especially, I remember at one point there was an international program where if you're a member from out of the U.S., you could, and if you had a financial hardship or a graduate student, you could petition to get your fees waived.
Absolutely, and we have continued that program.
Yeah.
Individuals who have a hardship and they want to be a member of STP should not let that stop them. We also are encouraging people now, because a lot of people didn't know that you can gift a membership of STP. And so what I would like to challenge people to do is, if you have a colleague, in particular an early career faculty member who is not a member of STP, gift them a membership for 1 year. It's going to help them start to develop their community. But in addition to that, STP offers so many resources to help them become a good teacher that I think that they will immediately see the benefits of it, and then they will re-up themselves the next year.
I think it's a great. I did not know that you could gift memberships. It strikes me that we should gift a membership to every new faculty member hire in the U.S. in the Department of Psychological Science?
Yeah, all you need is for someone to say, hey, I would like to gift a membership. If I gift a membership to a new faculty member, I simply pay the $35 for the first year. They get a year of membership.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, again, they would be encouraged to renew the next year.
Yeah, but even if they didn't, just giving people an incentive to go to teachpsych.org would be an awesome. Actually, literally, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely.
Is it better to be a member? Yes, because you're eligible to apply for grants and you access to resources. But I'm preaching to the choir here.
Well, I appreciate it. Preach on, brother. Preach on.
Well, thank you. So are you? We talked about this earlier, and I want to come back to it before we started recording today. When I saw you, you have transitioned relatively recently into a new role on your campus. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Yes. So 6 months into my STP presidency, I guess I didn't have enough work to do. So I actually became the interim associate dean for the College of Education and Behavioral Science at Arkansas State University. I know it sounds weird because I'm a psych person and I'm saying College of Education and Behavioral Science, but at our institution, the Department of Psychology and Counseling still reside within the College of Education and Behavioral Science.
Sure.
So I was asked by our provost to take on the role as the interim associate dean. We have an interim dean, and she and I work well together. We have laughed a lot this past year, a lot of it at how much we didn't know. But we've sort of kept our sense of humor, and we've decided that our role is to move forward. We will know in the early spring whether or not we will be offered the positions permanently. But as it stands now, we are both interims, and I'm okay with that.
So is the college doing the thing where it sounds like from what you just said, they'll make a decision whether to hire the interims or do a national search?
That is correct.
And will they figure that out for the dean first and then for your role second, or at the same time?
From what I understand, the decision will probably be made simultaneously.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, it makes sense if they accept both the interims, because obviously, I'm guessing you have a good working relationship based on what you just said, and it makes sense to keep the team together. But if you're going to do a national search for the dean, I could see where it could make sense that the dean gets to pick the person as associate dean. No, and that's not any diss on you at all.
No. And that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
From my understanding, the conversation between the dean and the provost prior to us taking the position was that the dean was given a choice. Oh. And so I was the person that was selected, fortunately.
That's cool.
Yeah, and the dean, the interim dean, reached out to me and asked if I would partner along with her in this journey, and I said yes. And so the conversations we have been having at this point has been talking about what our next steps will be if we are both fortunate enough to be offered the position full time.
So I don't want to put you in a corner, and I don't want to take away any of your degrees of freedom and negotiations. But do you want the job?
Actually, I do.
Good for you.
I have really enjoyed the past 6 months. I did not know what to expect, in all honesty. And at one point in my life, I had thought I might be interested in a deanship, but I've decided that I'm much better as an associate dean.
Okay.
Well, because the responsibilities and the roles are very different, and I get to work more directly with faculty as the associate dean. The dean has all of the larger external responsibilities, but I get to work and talk with faculty each and every day to help them meet their needs so that they can be the best faculty member that they can be. And I really enjoy that. It feels like I've actually accomplished something at the end of the day when all I did was get someone a loaner laptop.
Does your dean's office divide things into the student side and the faculty side, and you're the faculty side associate? So is there another associate dean for student issues?
No, there's not.
Okay.
There's not. I do student issues as well, but
Okay.
fortunately, I have only had to do 1 or 2 of those
That is fortunate.
so far. And one of them was, it was simply helping a student get a course that they needed so they could graduate.
Okay.
Yeah. So not very challenging in that instance. The other one was a little more challenging, but, we took it on. We followed the rules, did what we were supposed to do.
Right.
But I do see faculty more each day. I still see students because I also still teach 1 course each semester.
Okay. Well, so what would your normal teaching load have been if you're 100% faculty?
If I was 100% faculty, I would be on a 4-4 load.
4-4, and then but you also served as department chair for a while.
I did serve as department
and
chair.
what would that load have been?
As department chair, I was on a 2-2 load.
Okay, so 4-4 to 2-2 to 1-1.
Yes.
Does the dean, the interim dean, teach at all?
The interim dean has the option of teaching 1 course per year.
Okay. Or not.
Yes.
I get and okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. So it's really we've known each other for a long time, and it's really cool to see you smile when you're describing your daily work and helping faculty.
It's because it's a form of mentoring, and I love it.
Yeah, that is your gig.
It is. I mean, that is one of the gifts that I have. And I think as I've aged and I've become more the age of my students' grandparents, it's a little more challenging for me to mentor some of them, not all of them. Some of them
Right.
appreciate the wisdom that gray hair brings along with it. But
There's no gray hair there. But okay.
but others, not necessarily so. But I find that with early career faculty, they see my age as a benefit, my longevity in the institution as a benefit. And the majority of them, they want to know what I have to say, which still surprises the heck out of me.
Well, and I think that speaks to the, I don't want to say maturity of your faculty, but the conscientiousness of your faculty members, that they'll actually take direction from someone. And I think you're right. It's probably a nice benefit. If the associate dean were 27 years old, I think it would be very difficult to tell other faculty members in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, here's what you ought to do in the classroom.
Right.
But someone who's been in the classroom for years, has some experiences to share.
35 years.
35 years. I got you by one. I'm in my 36th year post-PhD.
Yeah, 35 years, and I have also worked my way through the academic ranks.
Right.
So I started as an instructor and was promoted to assistant and associate in full. I've served on the faculty senate. I've served on the promotion and tenure.
Sure.
So I've worked my way through the ranks, and I think I have some street creds, academic street creds.
I think you do too. Yeah.
Because of that, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. So you said that you were teaching a 1-1 load. So what class do you teach in the spring and the fall?
I teach quantitative methods for psychology majors, i.e. statistics.
So how come you don't call it statistics or statistical methods?
Because we have a math department that offers a statistics course.
Yeah. They in our shop they call their stat course something different, and you can find a statistical methods course in psychology, in criminal justice, in sociology, and we all call it the exact same thing. And occasionally we'll cross-list them, but not very often.
Yeah, the decision and the naming of the course predates my tenure there. So all I know is it's one of my favorite classes to teach, and I still get to teach it.
Why? Okay, so I think I understand why, but tell our listeners, why is it one of your favorite classes? What about that content or that topic or that challenge excites you?
We'll be right back.
Whether you're a passionate psychology enthusiast or a dedicated college professor, we know that every student is unique, and so should be their learning journey. That's why we're thrilled to introduce you to Macmillan Learning's Achieve platform. Imagine a space where learning is as dynamic as the students themselves. Achieve offers a personalized experience with interactive ebooks and collaborative class management tools designed to meet each student's needs. But that's not all. Immerse yourself in our multimedia study tools and explore over 100 new videos, each crafted to spark curiosity and deepen understanding. For those who believe in empowering students with essential skills, Achieve has exclusive skill activities to help them master note-taking and APA-style usage. It's more than just learning. It's about preparing students for success in the real world. Innovation in education is at the heart of what we do. So why not be a part of this journey? Discover how you can inspire and transform learning experiences by visiting macmillanlearning.com/psych sessions. Together with Macmillan Learning, let's inspire what's possible for every learner. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.
So there are a couple of things that excite me about that course. Number one, I hearken back to when I was an undergraduate student and how terrified I was of the word statistics. And I was terrified of the instructor as well. And I developed an affinity for both of them. I realized in that class that I was not terrible at math. I just had people who probably did not take the time necessary to help me understand math like I could have until I got to college. And when I got in college, I had Randy Smith as my as my statistics instructor. And he was the one who helped me realize that, again, my issue with math was that I had not been adequately prepared, and that I could do it, that I did have the mental capacity to do it, and he gave me all the encouragement that I needed. So fast forward, this is my way of paying that forward to other students who come in and who are terrified of math. The second reason I really enjoy teaching this course is that it's one of the few psychology courses where you can actually visibly see the progress students are making in the course from day to day to week to month. You have lots of aha moments during lecture in statistics. So if I'm explaining a statistical concept and a student raises their hand and they say, I don't really get this, I'll go at it another way. And then if I still see them looking like, I'll say, okay, I'm going to let you process for a minute and I'm going to take another stab at it. And so I'll go at it one more time. And if they get it, they go, oh, is that it? And I'll go, yeah, that's it. If I miss the mark again, the third time, I'll look around the room and I'll go, okay, is there anyone around here who want to help me with this? Like, you want to give it a shot?
Sure.
And so another student will then pipe up and they'll try to explain the concept, and they'll do it in a way that quite often benefits the student who did not understand it, and they'll go, oh, okay, that's what you mean. And so then I'll thank the student who helped me, and then we move on.
That's very cool. Listeners can't see this, but I see you getting excited about the 3 steps that you have and helping the light bulb go on for students.
Yeah.
And so while we're here on, okay, I want to call it statistics. You call it quantitative methods. Okay. While we're
call
here
it stats.
While we're here at stats, is there something off the top of your head that, oh my gosh, every semester I know that students are going to struggle with X? Is like, oh, they never get the Z distribution, or they don't really understand chi-square, or they don't understand hypothesis testing. Is there some topic that's recurring to you?
It's typically hypothesis testing that we have to spend quite a bit of time on, because I tell them it's like a double negative.
Yes, that's right.
And so then they don't know what a double negative is.
The analogy that I like, that I used to pound when I taught statistics, was the jury, innocent versus not guilty, and the 2x2 matrix of, the proof and the decision. And, you never know if a jury's making the correct decision, but they have to make a decision anyway.
Right.
I like that 2x2. There's somebody in my department, I'm not going to remember who has on their door a black and white cutout of a cartoon that's about pregnancy.
Yes, I use that one as well.
There you go. Yeah, and there's a lot of great memes out there, by the way, but the pregnant, not pregnant, the false positive versus the false negative. Yeah.
So the other thing I do, because I'm very silly when I teach, is, and my students had to correct me, but years ago, there was the song All About the Bass, and I think it was Megan Trainor.
Megan Trainor. Yeah.
Megan. And so I came up with my own little ditty, and it's because it's all about the know, about the know.
No, I'm sorry, keep going. It's great.
And then, no research. And so, it's all about the null hypothesis, not the research hypothesis.
Oh, my God.
And so I will then go into class and I'll start singing, it's all about the null, about the null. And then I'll look at them and they'll go, no research. And I go, see, you get it.
All right. So, Loretta, is the whole thing recorded somewhere?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'm not quite sure if you're lying to me or not.
No. Unless they have secretly recorded it and put it online somewhere.
Oh, my gosh. Because we could release that as an add-on to this episode.
Well, I just repeat, the chorus over and over again.
Okay. It's all about the null, all about the null. I think you might be the first person who has ever sang on the podcast.
Well, that wasn't really singing.
It was.
Okay.
It was singing.
But see, it's all about the null.
About the null.
Yeah.
No research. What other innovative things do you do in your stat class?
Oh, there are many, my friends.
Yeah? Can you give us one or two?
So when I'm talking about the shape of a distribution, in particular when I'm talking about kurtosis, and I talk about, mesocurtic, leptocurtic, platycurtic,
yep.
I actually have moves that I do. So if I'm standing straight with my hands down to my side, I'm a mesocurtic curve. Mm-hmm. Then when I throw my hands into the air, I'm leptocurtic.
That's right. You're pointy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And then when I throw my arms to my side and I look like a baseball umpire who's calling someone out, I'm platycurtic.
Okay. I always like the platycurtic as the platypus. And so you think about the bill on a platypus being so flat and so close to the ground.
Yeah, again, I think some of my students don't know what a platypus is.
No, and I'm probably getting the platypus wrong either. I will sometimes throw in, when I'm talking to research method students, I'll throw in, I'll talk about kurtosis, the pointiness of a curve.
Yeah.
I'll throw in those terms. And then I just say, I know you don't care about this. I'm just showing off. I remember what they mean.
Well, no, and I go in sometimes and I just quiz. I'll take the pose for the platycritic pose, and then I'll go, what type of curve am I? And they'll look at each other and I'll go, come on, you guys have to know this. And then I'll say, okay, mesocritic, and I'll stand up straight. And then I'll do the moves like, again, the umpire, and then they'll go, oh, platycritic. So they get it.
I just want to let you know that we can actually link a video to your podcast release if you want to record a little video after we're done.
Absolutely not. But
I thought you were going to say absolutely yes.
I know. People, look, I think I did a really good job of explaining it so that people have the visual of me throwing my hands in the air, being leptocritic. If I could jump, I would throw my hands in the air and jump and then be leptocritic.
Well, we can all jump a little bit. For me, it hurts when I'm coming down.
Exactly, which is why I can't jump. But then I think that people can see an umpire, either calling out, but calling you safe. I can see the umpire calling you safe, and their arms are out and they've got this little stance.
Yeah, but I think if it's you, it's much more salient to our listeners if they're watching an image of you or a video.
It's much more embarrassing, is what you really meant to say.
No, I mean, I will goof off in my own classroom to make a point. I mean, or sometimes I'll just goof off in the classroom because they're not paying any attention to me. So I've got to get their attention. And I use Pull Everywhere in my classes, and for me, the conversation inevitably goes to hair because I don't have any on the top of my head. But I will talk about, oh man, I had luscious hair once. I had hair almost down to my shoulders once, and they don't believe me. And so I think one day a semester, I bring in a slide with 5 pictures of me from my childhood to young adulthood where I had hair, so I can make the point. So I don't care if they're laughing with me or at me as long as they're paying attention to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I can imagine your classes would be a blast.
Well, but that's why, again, I like teaching statistics, because I have lots of things like that. I tell a story about a couple dating to explain correlation. So, and they love it. I spend probably half a class, spinning this story about Bob and Sue.
Right.
And they leave the classroom. Well, before they leave the classroom, they're like having a fit because I leave it as a cliffhanger and they want to know what happened. What happened? What happened? And I'll go, well, go ask somebody else who took the class. We want to know.
Well, and plus you can probably use that later. Remember when Bob and Sue were dating and we looked at that data here?
Exactly.
Bob and Sue are now thinking about a car, and we're not looking at relationships, we're looking at differences.
Yeah. I have used Bob and Sue for over 20 years.
Bob and Sue.
And the students get to decide Bob or Sue, one of them meets an old flame. And if it's Bob typically meets Sally. And if it's Sue, she typically meets Bill. So
you keep the B and the S together.
Yeah.
The BS theme is pervasive.
But the students love it. And I take to social media every time after I teach the concept, and I will post, introduced a new generation of students to Bob and Sue. And then all my former students start responding. Awesome. Oh my gosh, I remember Bob and Sue.
Bob and Sue, how they doing?
Bob was such a slut. And,
Very good. Very good. So you're teaching one class a semester. You're the interim associate dean. You are the past president of the Society for Teaching of Psychology. So, Loretta, what else you got going on? Are you going to be supervising students, grad students, as much as you did before?
No.
Okay.
No, this gig as interim associate dean, I would like to dedicate more time to it, and especially if it becomes a full-time gig.
Sure.
I'd like to spend more time helping faculty within our college. this is something that, again, fulfills my need for mentoring. Now, that's not to say that I'm not going to do other things, because I'm constantly involved in things with STP or APA or with, SWPA, all the acronyms. I'm constantly involved with those types of things. I still give presentations everywhere I'm invited to give a presentation. I have a full life.
Good.
And I have an 8-year-old grandson who keeps me busy.
Wow. So I know you have a son and a daughter.
Yes.
The grandson comes from
My son.
your son. So
Yes.
your son's son.
My son's son.
And what is his name?
His name is Isaiah.
Isaiah, and 8 years old, which
8
is
years
a
old.
pretty good age, third grade, probably.
Second grade.
Second grade, gotcha.
Yes, late
Okay.
birthday.
Okay, so it's late birthday, second grade. And I'm going to ask the question, but I think I can tell from your demeanor right now. Is he adorable?
Absolutely. He's like his grandmother. He is very precocious. And
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
he has his grandmother, who he calls Gigi, wrapped around his little finger. And
Is that from McGregor? Is that the G and the G, McGregor?
Nope.
Or
Nope. I had to choose my own grandmother name because his mom's mother is grandma.
okay, grandma.
And so grandma was taken, and I then decided, okay, I'm not quite a grandma, or I'm not a nana, and grandmother really does sound too precocious. So I decided that Gigi for gorgeous grandmother.
Oh, very nice. So I was going to ask you, is that a family thing? But it's
No.
just something that you made up.
Yeah.
So I have a daughter who's married and living in Denver with her husband, and they don't have kids yet, and they've talked about it, but they're on their own timeline.
Right.
However, so I don't have grandkids, but I have figured out what I want to be called.
Okay.
If there are ever.
So what's your
grandkids.
grandparent name?
My grandfatherly name is going to be Pop Pop.
I like it.
And I actually got that idea from Dana Dunn because I believe he called his grandfather Pop Pop.
Yes.
And I think he's got two grandkids. He's got one grandkid on the way, and I think they call him Pop. So, but I like the Pop.
I can see Dana as a pop.
Yeah,
And not a pop. A pop would be just a bit too much.
too much fun, too much excitement.
Well, too much for Dana.
Okay, all right. Well, nice save, by the way.
No,
Very-
pop. You are a pop.
But my mother with her grandchildren was very formal, and she wanted to be called grandmother. So she was called grandmother. My other grandmother on my mom's side didn't care one bit. And so I don't think my dad cared what he was called by his grandchildren, but my mother did. She wanted to be more formal than she needed to be.
Well, I also think just saying Gigi sounds fun.
Yeah, and I think it's pronounceable
Yeah.
for a little one.
Exactly. And that was the other thing I thought about because, when they're little and they're learning how to speak, those short syllables
Right.
where they can repeat.
Yeah, Papa, Mama,
Yeah.
Gigi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's. But obviously, your 8-year-old. I mean, he learned that long ago.
Yes.
Gigi.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now he just runs it all together. Gigi, da 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 da.
So at least you're getting the beginning of the sentence where he's talking to you.
Well, most times.
Okay. All right. And so, all right. That is awesome. That brings a glint to your eye, a smile to your face when you talk about your grandson.
Eric, you bring a glint to my eye and a smile to my face. Just talking with you.
Okay, so Loretta and I have known each other for a long time. And I'm not going to tell all our stories, but we have stories. Go listen to the first episode if you want to hear those stories.
We have no stories. Don't listen to the first episode.
We have stories. The first episode that she was on, I told the one about me, you, and Regan at the AP reading. And so I'm not going to repeat that here unless you want me to.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Very nice. Plausible deniability. I appreciate that. Anything, we're coming up on, we're 40 minutes in. Is there anything else that you want to talk about or something that was on your mind or, hey, I've got a pulpit, I'm going to use it kind of thing? You got anything going on that way?
Do I have anything going on that way? Actually, I think I do.
Yes, ma'am. The floor is yours.
So, I am slowly moving into this late career phase.
Having a hard time admitting that, are you?
Well, no. I mean, I think I'm still sort of on the cusp of mid to late kind of, I don't know.
Good for you.
I don't know.
I'm not going to burst your bubble.
Gee, thanks, Eric. But I think it's very interesting that we are now the late career.
I'm definitely late career.
Well, I think it's interesting that when I say we, you and I and some of our other friends that we've known forever, that we are now the late career faculty members. And for me, it has been a roller coaster ride, but I'm settling into this late career thing. And I'm actually having lots of fun again. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm having lots of fun.
My guess is that part of that is, and forgive me for being serious for a minute, part of that is you have a new challenge that you are enjoying, and you see a future in that new. Being an interim associate dean or an associate dean, you have found a way to continue to make a contribution using your expertise, but it's to a new audience. And so I think there's a freshness in that for you. Loretta, I am scared about retirement, if I'm totally honest with you. I'm scared about it because I wonder, am I going to be one of those men who retires and 6 months later keels off?
Absolutely not.
Well, but it's a serious concern of mine, and I think about.
No, I get it.
Will I continue to be active? I think I will. I just don't want to sit at home and twiddle my thumbs. And home is a great place for me, and I can do lots of things and make contributions there. But at the same time, I think too much of my personal identity is wrapped in my professional identity.
But now this is me being serious.
Okay.
You are a great teacher and a great educator, and you don't have to stand in front of a classroom of students to do that every day. You do that through your writing. You do that through your podcast. You do that through your speaking. You can educate and train and inform in lots of different ways other than standing in front of the classroom every day.
Thank you for sharing that edit point that I will take out when I give a chance to this episode. Well, first off, thank you. But I do worry about, the drive to school, the walking up to my office, taking the elevator to the 6th floor of the education building. When I step away from that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. It's really, it's an interesting academic, intellectual thing. It's scary as F to think about in reality.
It is, but by the time you make the decision, you will have found the next thing you'll be walking into every day.
Yeah, you know what? You're so good at giving this advice. You really are a good mentor. And I'm hearkening back to the AP reading advice that you gave me, which was also really good career advice at the time. You should do this. This should be your full-time gig.
I think I'll do it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. You're really good at this. But, and so STP has just started a late career retirement affinity group. And
yes.
I'm part of that, and I'm on that listserv. And
so am I.
Yeah. And were you, at ACT, were you in the room when Dave and Steve hosted that meeting?
I came in briefly, but if you'll remember,
that was a busy conference for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, there was like 25 people and 26 seats and things. I mean, it was jam-packed.
It was.
Yeah.
And we were like, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of people thinking about this, and you know, at least I've never really spent much time thinking about retirement until the past couple of years.
Yeah, same
trying to
here.
figure out my timeline and what makes sense. And honestly, the thing that I don't hear a lot of people talking about is their health. You know, I've had a couple of health challenges, and I worry about, I don't want to be facetious about this. I don't want to die in my classroom. I don't want to be the guy up at the whiteboard and all of a sudden keels over. I don't want to be that. I think it messes up the department, messes up students, it messes up a lot of people. So figuring out when do you walk away at the top of your game versus maybe I should do 2 more years because of the health insurance. Is that the wrong reason? I mean, I worry about these things.
No, but you will figure it out because you're a thinker. You joke. We all are thinkers, and we have gotten to where we are because we think and we plan, and we try to have backup plans, and sometimes we try to have backups to the backups.
Yeah, so what?
I'm saying when you make the decision, it will be the right time.
Yeah, I sure hope you're right. Yeah, what is it? What's the phrase? From your mouth to God's ear? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I have no doubt that you are going to continue to do all of these great things. Your second act, and that's what I'm going to call it, your second act. Your second act is going to be amazing and something that you could have never fully dedicated the time to when you were doing your first act.
Wow, I'm thankful for this therapy session. I really do appreciate it. It wasn't really my original intent.
You can Venmo me.
I am on Venmo, believe it or not. I'm in the 21st century. I do Venmo from time to time.
I think it's interesting that you have concerns about when you're going to step away and what you're going to do. I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to step away and do something even greater than you're doing now.
Well, I appreciate that, but how do you feel about your own retirement?
I think my retirement is going to be cool as well. I've started thinking more about it, thinking about how many more years I'm going to have in the academic space. And then what I really want to do when I step away is I want to travel with my grandson. I want to take him places that he's never been.
Right.
I want to fly in the airplane with him, and I want to see his face light up the very first time he sees the ocean. Those are the things I want to do.
Yeah. What I like about that is that you have a concrete plan with specific goals. I think that's a very helpful thing to have.
And I volunteer now, so I'm quite sure there will be volunteer experiences in the community. Who knows? I may still teach a class every now and then.
It's got to be statistics.
Well, it may be statistics.
You need those students coming back for that song.
By the way, I still did that online during the pandemic, so I can do it online as well.
If you did it did you record your classes when you were online?
Maybe.
So the song is online and recorded.
I think it's been erased.
Wow, you came up with that pretty fast.
Well, no, we changed LMS systems, and when you change LMS systems,
man, somebody's got to have that archive somewhere.
Oh, I bet they don't.
Arc State. I can go find the faculty development person and see if we can get that out of the archives.
Yeah, our IT person left, and
okay, all right. You're playing the game better than I am. Good for you. Good for you.
The dog ate
the dog ate my homework.
Yeah, the dog ate the computer cord.
There you go.
Yeah,
Loretta, it's been an absolute pleasure. Any last thoughts that you want to leave our listeners with?
Eric, thank you very much for asking me to do this again. I love sitting and chatting with you, and this seems to be the only time now that we get to just sit and chat.
Well, first off, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. What I've discovered in doing psych sessions is that I get about an hour to talk to my friends much of the time. I mean,
it's fun.
And it's fun, and I get to go places that I wouldn't know. If we were out to dinner at some conference event or sitting at lunch with a table of 8, we wouldn't get to talk like this.
No.
We wouldn't get to talk about grandkids probably, or favorite classes, or stressors about retirement. I mean, we just wouldn't go there in a dinner environment in a noisy restaurant, which is why I've come to be very fond of this format where you can take a deep dive into something, not know where it's going to go, but you trust each other, it'll go somewhere meaningful.
So in your second act, when you become rich and famous from this, will you still invite me to come on and just, shoot the breeze?
Well, as long as I'm doing this, the answer is yes. Okay. But I think the second act, and maybe this is not the place to say it, the second act probably doesn't involve psych sessions.
Okay.
Because I want it to persist. Garth is doing such a great job with it, and he keeps us healthy, and it'll be time for me to step away at some point in the near future and let him partner up with someone else or do it differently. So, but I'm going to keep a microphone, and I'm going to keep a recording device. So the big answer to your question is yes, we can chat, we can record it, and maybe I'll have a special series, all my best friends, all of Eric's best friends.
Eric's greatest hits.
My greatest hits, but only if you sing and dance on it. That's the only that might be the sweetener to the deal.
Okay.
If you'll do that, Loretta, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Psych Sessions can do what it does because of listeners like you. We want to thank you for your support over the years in our mission to get more free professional development to all teachers of psychology around the world. If you want to support us further by making a tax-deductible donation, please head to psychsessions.org/donations. Thanks for listening.